In this video, I wanted to talk about different types of oil and why you may want to use like a better oil, like a synthetic or something like that, versus like a cheaper oil, and the benefits of it. Something I've been wanting to talk about for a little while on the channel, and I'll go over a couple things, and hopefully you learn something from the video. But before I roll into this, remember, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and if you have any questions, leave a comment, and we'll reply back to you. So there are a million different kinds of oils on the market. You have your cheap and expensive dyno oils, and those are good for like 3,000 miles. And then you change it. Then you have more, expensive oils. You might have a product like Mobil one, which is a full synthetic. Then you have a high mileage oil. There's like a few different options out there. Well, why is one better than the other, and when should you use like a high mileage oil? These are things that I'll kind of go over in the video, and hopefully help you point. It'll hopefully help to point you in the right direction, especially if you're buying a used car, or if you have a newer car that's not brand new but has a couple miles on it. What oil should you use? And it's a few things I wanted to talk to you about. So if you use like a lesser expensive oil, like maybe it's an oil that doesn't have a synthetic in it, and it's just like a regular 10W30 weight or something like that, and just like a normal typical oil. It might be $5 or $6 or $3 a quart. Those oils, you typically have to change them every 3,000 miles. They don't protect the engine as good internally as your Mobil one, or a really good oil. And what can happen over time is if you use like a really inexpensive oil and you go way over the 3,000 mile recommended oil change interval, and now you have like 6,000 or 7,000 miles on it, which is easy to do these days. Everybody travels, so typically people travel to work, they go away on vacation. You're always traveling, and it's easy to rack up those kinds of miles without realizing how far you're going. So you may want to get like a more expensive oil, like something maybe like a Mobil one, and it's not really that much more expensive. You can go around 7,500 like on a Mobil one full synthetic oil, before they recommend that you change the oil out. If you compare costs, like if a quart costs you $4 for the inexpensive stuff, and then it's like $8 for the Mobil one, you're getting a better oil for pretty much the same price, because if you compare the oil interval change that they recommend, you're doubling the oil interval change. On a Mobil one, you're getting a way better oil. It's really something to think about. You may not have thought about it that way, but yeah, it's a little bit more money up front, but on the other side of it, you're bumping out your mileage and the rate you have to change your oil, so you're more than doubling it, really. So even with the cheap oil, if you have to change it at 3,000 miles, you've gone 3,000 miles, now you have to change it again, you've gone 6,000 miles, you've changed it twice for another 500, you get another 500 miles out of like a Mobil one change. So what happens is when you get sludge in a motor, and you can see on the screen right here, the oil breaks down, the viscosity breaks down on the cheaper oils that don't have the viscosity that the better oils do, and it builds up sludge within the motor. So the sludge sticks to different things, like it sticks to your lifters, it sticks to your cam, it gets down to the pan, it sticks all around in there, and it can, if it gets bad enough, you can blow the motor, because it'll stick up, it'll crud up the pump and the oil pump and everything else. So this is pretty much the main concern when you're using an inexpensive oil and you let it go way over what the recommended oil change interval is. So if you have a newer car, a brand new car, or like a newer car that has like under 75,000 miles on it, you can go to like a full synthetic, like a Mobil one full synthetic. You're using this as for instance. So what that'll do, like your full synthetics, you'll have some additives in the oil, and they'll help to prevent friction and wear inside the motor. They'll help to like lubricate some of the internal parts and stuff like that, so that as you travel, the wear of the mechanicals inside the motor going up and down and rotating, it'll have less wear, and it'll help to prolong the engine life. So you're growing up in my father's body shop, we would tear down quite a few motors, and you could always tell the motors that the customer took really good care of their vehicle, did the oil changes when they were supposed to, and if they used the product like Mobil one or Mobil one. There's just internally that much of a difference on wear in the motors. People who would use the cheaper oils weren't so great with changing the oil when they were supposed to. The whole inside of that engine would always be worn out. You'd have to have it replaced, and it just wasn't good. So if you happen to purchase a vehicle and it has over 75,000 on it, you're not really quite sure of how the previous owner took care of the vehicle, you may want to go with the high mileage, full synthetic oil like a Mobil one. What that'll do, the high mileage will do is it'll have, if the motor has a few small leaks in it, but it has like a conditioner in it, so it'll help to prevent the old gaskets that are in the motor from leaking. The additives will help to swell with the hardened gaskets that shrunk, like maybe around the oil pan a little bit. Jeeps are notorious for this. It'll also, and I had this happen, I bought an 04 Grand Cherokee, which looked to be in pretty good shape, and I pulled it down at Lumpy's garage. You guys have probably seen those episodes. Took the valve cover off, and there was sludge all on top of the rockers. So what I did, and we can do with this product, is I went with a Mobil one, the high mileage Mobil one. What you do is you can run the high mileage Mobil one, and the additives within the oil will help to reduce the amount of sludge in the motor. But what you have to do is, instead of changing that oil at every 75,000, you may want to go to 3,000 for the first initial dose, because it'll help to get rid of some of the sludge. You've got to drop the oil out at like 3,000 miles, get rid of the sludge that has started and then now come out of the motor because of the better oil. And then you do it again, and then maybe you go to 5,000 miles, let the sludge come out a little bit more, and then you bump it back up to 75,000 miles on your third dose of the high mileage Mobil one. But I did this on my old Jeep, and it worked pretty well. The sludge that I had was minimal. It wasn't like a ton of sludge, but there was definitely some sludge in there, and it really did help to get it all out. So let's face it, your engine is the heart of your vehicle, and the motor oil is the blood of that heart. The better oil you put in your motor, the less mechanical problems you should have with the motor. It should last you a really long time. It's not unheard of for a motor that has had good oil its whole life to go way over 200,000 miles, or maybe even hit 300,000 miles. There's a lot to be said for that. The longer you own that vehicle, the less the vehicle costs you if you keep it up and keep all the mechanicals up and you do your routine maintenance on it. So those are different things I kind of wanted to discuss in the video, to show, to tell people, that are kind of new to automotive things and they're trying to do their oil changes and some of their maintenance. Look at it that way, the way you described. And, if it costs you a little bit more for a better oil, it really isn't all that much more when you sit down and you look at it, because you're doubling the miles. You're doubling your mileage and you're getting a better oil. I have this conversation all the time with people. But hey, I hope you liked the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We got a lot of great stuff coming out. We do a lot around here. We do a lot of home repairs, stuff with ATVs, RVs, and a lot of different DIY stuff. So don't forget to tune in, and I'll see you next time.